Well, everyone might fight for 50 bucks, but if I drafted French into Delhi, I might just surrender straight away like I'm in World War II. One and all, welcome back to the Age of Empires for action. We are in the middle of a show match between Mayan Sanity's Anatan in the blue as the Delhi, going up against Marine Lord on his orangutan account, and the yellow playing as de Francais. Yeah, tricky matchup, actually. One that we've already seen at the Red Bull Wololo El Reinado finals, actually, where Marine Lord was, in fact, on the Delhi and Puppy Paw was on the receiving end. This time, it seems like it is M Lord's turn to get a bit spanked. This is a tough matchup, guys. French, they do have a way of outskilling in this matchup, and what I mean by that is, you can raid very well the Knights, but you kind of have to outplay. If a Delhi player is playing close to perfect in this matchup, and you're playing perfect as a French player, I don't think you can win it. So you need to kind of force errors here, right? And I think that's the beauty of Age of Empires 4. That's the beauty of these type of games, is we can formulate this idea of like, this Civ just beats this one. This one is impossible. There's a reason we still play it out, and otherwise we'd just be called Age of Draft, right? We play the games out because you need to execute perfectly. Now, both of these players are most definitely capable of it, and they've shown it time and time again. And I've got to say, Anatan's Delhi is kind of on another level right now. I think as soon as those elephant buffs came in, the overall changes, he was one of the most scary players, just present and able out of the gate. So, kind of curious to see what his approach is going to be here. Typically, you do go for the Spearman opening as the Delhi against the French. Logic being is that Gazi will not be able to hold back French. But sometimes you can actually get away with a stable beginning because of the Dome of Faith build. Dome of Faith has made this matchup a lot easier for Delhi to win. Tower Victory was still very feasible, but now with the Dome of Faith, you have that healing potential to ruin your opponent in long skirmishes. And while this is going to be a different approach, we are, of course, on good old Rocky River. That does mean you have the long-distance trades, and we've been seeing more and more of these French players leaning into Chamber of Commerce for that. You rate Anathan spawn a little bit better because that close tree line. What, this one? But Marine Lord has that too. I can't believe you're banking against the cock. It's been whipped out in all its glory here. It's being erected in the back of his base, and I'm wondering, where is Anatan's scout? Oh, no. Kind of the worst time to come home, actually, and that's an intriguing thought, guys. So whenever you see scout rotations in these type of situations, because you have to come home early, you're then going to be heading out to your opponent's base afterwards to spot what his tech up is, right? There's a world in which, because Anatan spent so long out, because you can when you're a berry sieve, because you don't need to bring sheep home, he might still just go and check the north and east side corners before checking the base of the tech choice, which might lead to him making a misinformed choice. That misinformed choice would be opening racks instead of opening stables. When it's Chamber of Commerce, I don't think you need to open with racks. I think you can get away with stables and look to apply pressure. Have to see if Anatan does find his timing here. I mean, he's heading towards the forward. He's looking at the gold, right? But he needs to be looking deeper. He's got to wrap around. Tech up's complete in a few seconds, so he should have the almost immediate timing, but the question mark is going to be Anatan. Does he hold the wood to wait? He's going east. Oh no, the sheep! The sheep are baiting him here. He's like, oh wow, he hasn't been here yet. I guess I'm now going to rally all the way in the east corner, which means that Marine Lord can now get his traders out for free. Ay, ay, ay. Bro. We talked about Gazi being more viable with Dome of Faith builds, and I want you guys to really process how wild this is, to show you just how good Gazi still can be because of the Dome of Faith. He's doing this blind. He doesn't know for sure it's Chamber of Commerce. If you check his vision, Marine Lord hit it well. Anatan never checked the back of that base. He might assume that it's going to be Chamber of Commerce because he doesn't see a School of Cavalry here. But even then, he didn't scout deep enough to confirm that. So there's no reason you'd logically go stables here, right, to counter the unit. But the reason he's able to get away with it is because of these cheap scholars that will allow him to just peel and heal. So first Gazi come out, and Marine Lord gets the bad news. This is also going to be an immediate blocker to the traders, and you see him immediately dart back. He's like, okay, this isn't happening. Ah, this is so tough. You can go Gazi regardless of trade or cav, I think. You can, but it's not ideal. Usually you want to open with racks here. In fact, we even have proof of this because Marine Lord himself in this matchup has opened with racks on the Delhi. Right? So, like, the logic is there because it means that you don't lose a single villager. Because you don't really want to be rushing textiles too early, right? So going racks, adding in a few makes a lot of sense. Because when the armies blob up, it's just a more cost-efficient way of trading. It's much easier to break an army with Gazi Spear than, say, Knight Archer quite often. So it definitely makes a lot of sense to play into. You can get away with Gazi beginnings for sure. And the reason you can is because of the fact that you can pull them back to heal. But it's definitely more ideal to just play Spears, let your opponent come out a bit, and then you start layering in Gazi to go flank attack with. But this goes back to the versatility of the Civ now, right? Like, Delhi didn't really have the same layer of versatility with Tower Victory. They were strong and they could win still, but they kind of played into a same old style. Gazi, I'm going to now try to stab in. Good blockage with the Knights there from Marine Lord. Kind of tricky to have to defend like this, and also big problem there. He gets pinched on the west side of the gold. One of these Knights could end up going down, but the pathing not there, and the reinforcements scare him off. So he's happy to get the scout, and happy to get away with the Gazi. The scout actually being traded out there unnecessarily. Anatan thought there was another charge coming through. There wasn't, so he panicked a little. And behind this, by the way, we do have pro scouts on the way in 2.5 minutes. This is another reason why this matchup got so much harder for the French. With pro scouts being viable now, because you have so many scholars researching, you will have safe economy at home at all times. The French will not. The reason this matchup was very skill-based and could kind of go either way in the older patches when we had Tower Victory was because both players had to come out into the map. With this change, Delhi are as comfortable as can be. Sacred Site's also now being locked in, so more resources in the pocket. Gonna time you out for a minute there. Spoilers! No, no, no. I know. Where is he targeting here? I guess the D is the most logical spot to go towards next, right? It's actually sick as well, because if you think about this spawn, this is not a Marine Lord spawn. You want to have the deer down here, and then the trade up here, because now you're going to get like focus fired here. Now, it's not too bad to get focus fired considering switching to spears, but this already feels rough that you have to go spears in the first place while playing as the French. Rohirrim Riders now coming in the Gazi. Look at the timing there. Marine Lord just about gets the outpost up. Wait, is he going to trickle? He's considering it. He goes after the traders instead, so pinches him there. A bold move here. Anatan able to scramble on top of him. The spearmen also outnumbered, so not able to be the real counter they're meant to be. Gazi are going to be able to ride out the other side. A lot of low HP bars here, but remember, he can fix that at home. Behind this, he also has still got Sacred Sites being locked in. So if he's drawing fire towards the trade, it means that he's getting his own kind of trade, in that he's getting his gold via the Sacred Sites to mirror it out. Marine Lord is not slowing down. Like, that is a ridiculous sum already. We're up to 4 traders, and then the rest is, remember, the fact that they produce more villages. They already have 5 more villages than the Delhi at this point. Powerful Civ, man. I don't know. Rumors of the French's demise, I think, were maybe illy declared. The change to just tweak their TC timings helped a lot. In fact, I think it's by the time you go Feudal Age, you have 0.6 more villages than you did on the previous patch. Now, the problem is this has just actually exposed the big crippling weakness and difference between Jeanne and French even more, because obviously Jeanne doesn't get an extra 0.6 villages, and when she goes for an age up, she's 1 villager extra down, right, because she converts Jeanne. So yeah, kind of a weird dynamic there. It's kind of crazy just how much of a difference it can make, but just gives me flashbacks to when the game first released. I think Nilly done this really cool video on it, where it's like talking to the devs, like, Oh, so you're going to give them this, you're going to give them that. And the list went on. You got to the villager things. Where it's like, so they produce villagers quicker as well, while also killing enemy villagers really well. Why does French go spears instead of archers? Gazi. Because if you, like, the problem is trying to keep up on the knight count versus Gazi count is difficult, right? And also, like, the spears here, the cool thing about spears in that situation is you can actually essentially begin the fight by sending spears in to attack spears and then knights charge afterwards. The reason that's really good is if the enemy spears are busy attacking another spear, they can't brace to block a charge. And that's where a lot of the raw knight damage comes from, is the charges. I love that. I had to, like, allow permissions for the term I hated French, and that is like, add permitted term I hated French. Out of context things. Anyway, armies are blowing up, and Anatan has a substantial advantage right now. We have got an archer switch up coming in from Marine Lord, and that's because he's seeing just how many spears there now are. Anatan, he could brute force this, man. The numbers do not favor Marine Lord to stand his ground in this area right now. Gazi just trying to flank, trying to get around the back to make sure there's no retreat away from the knights. Spearmen are going to scare them off, though. A bit of poke damage coming on the flanks in the meantime, but the dive now comes in underneath the tower. The spearmen holding the choke point. And Marine Lord, he balanced it perfectly. The knights were not being overwhelmed by the spear count. Great fight there, but the numbers, the follow-up is the bigger concern here. Marine Lord has such an uphill battle that even taking an initial good fight there isn't good enough. Knight count now fully diminished, down to just 5 remaining. Gazi count still at 10. And the archers may be in trouble because of that. There's barely any left over here. He's got a second wave waiting at home. But if he has to head home here, that's going to be no food, no trade, and no leg to stand on in this game. Just enough Gazi left over to pick him apart as well, because there was never a steeled arrow. He prioritized the undermesh instead. And I've got to ask why, right? Like, in this situation, sure, there are archers coming from Anatan, but the real threat here was the spearman count getting out of control. The fact that you were going archers and not having that ready to go for the Gazi to take extra damage as well, I think he got tricked here by Anatan. The timings just didn't align to favor Marine Lord. That steeled arrow not being there and having the wedge rivets instead is what lost Marine Lord that defense and now has him overwhelmingly behind on military. Oy, oy, oy. And what do you do from here, right? Like, Anatan, options kind of open up. I don't think you go for Castle Age here. Possibly. It could seem like a viable option, but it's going to give a little bit of breathing room for Marine Lord to recover. I think you just double down on the push, right? Blob up the archers with the Gazi and go now. Marine Lord has more archers right now, sure, but like he does not have more economical power in the current state of play. Let's see some Delhi trade. That's true. Anatan does owe us, and big shout out to Wicked Skies. Thank you very much for the resub. 5 months, you legend. But yeah, I recall a certain double trade post build as the Delhi from Anatan on the test server. Just saying. I think my viewers feel teased when they like to be pleased. How's Marine Lord looking on the trade count? It's only 4 now, guys. It's all just raw villager lead, right? He's still 9 ahead, but 2 sacred sites can offset some of that, right? They can offset about 3 villages each. Then you consider the berries and the gathering rate on them to try and compete here. You know, it's not really a situation where Marine Lord is just miles ahead. If we remove the monk count, Marine Lord's not that far behind. True. But the thing about these scholars that are really obnoxious is the fact that you can now use them to heal your boys, right? It's like, I think as you skirmish back, like, I wouldn't even be surprised if Anatan starts to maybe pull a few of these monks to the ford. I don't think you have to keep them back, but good catch there. It is a fair point. The other thing that really matters for, though, is the production efficiency, right? Like, if you think about the amount of extra production builds Marine Lord has to add in, that's him adding into buildings to get units instead of getting units. It's another big edge that Delhi has with this build. Marine Lord, just archers remaining, nothing else. Gazi continue to dive in. The archers are struggling to keep pace with this. Marine Lord on point with the micro. Is it going to be enough to hold, though? Archers are finally getting in range. It looks like Anatan is going to have to reset here. So a little bit greedy, a little bit too soon. He has to back away. However, this is good for him in that Marine Lord is now one-dimensional. He only has archers and nothing else. If he just spams full Gazi, this could be it. And to be fair, Anatan was also neglecting. If I'm not mistaken, his Bloomery could have been researched about 3 minutes ago. So he made a really big slip up because I'm pretty sure he had Still Down and Undermesh, if I'm not mistaken. But then there was a pause on the Blacksmith. So a missed opportunity there. Bloomery is going to be a really big deal here for the Gazi. Marine Lord, in the meantime, is going to look to strike back. Now, the question mark is this blob big enough? Can 55 archers carry? Because Marine Lord has completely forgone night production now. The Bloomery is coming in really fast. Takes him about a minute. Yeah, 1 minute and 7 seconds to research Blacksmith decks. Because he has 10 Scholars garrisoned. It's insane how fast this gets. And this is why this build is so good, guys. I wonder, does Anatan just go Castle, maybe? Because the Archer Blob is kind of getting big. I think he could probably beat them with Mass Gazi. The problem then is going to be access to resources, right? Because like he's going to have to move out to the Central Berries, and that might be a bit too risky here. He has got Pro Scouts, remember, so long term, he should have a lot more food than Marine Lord. Yellow has to run out into the mid-map. Anatan looking to intercept. We'll be able to find 1 or 2 villages, but quick reaction by the archers and a good wall here to minimize the losses. That could have been huge. However, the Gazi are now in the back. Marine Lord has quite a lot of idle villages right now, right? About 11 of them not working. Gazi, wait, does he know? He knows. He saw the mill here early. He's going to ride in. No textiles either. He could get a big pinch. A bit of a miss micro there, though. Anatan, slow reaction. If he had been on the mark, on point there, that would have been -4 villages at least. That would have been huge in this game. But a miss micro by Anatan. It looks like he was busy getting ready for his tech up. A tech up that's now rapidly on the way. And scary thought here, guys. Veterancy for the Gazi will only take him 2.5 minutes. And that's really all he needs to win when you look at Marine Lord's army. Can Marine Lord find the timing? Does he sense it? Does he understand it? I mean, tech up complete, but Marine Lord is backing away, and I'm a bit flummoxed by this. This strategy doesn't play, right? You can't back away from this position. With your current layer of income, you're 2 minutes away from a tech up, and then you're 3 minutes away from veterancy as a result, right? Meanwhile, look at the timings here. Veterancy for archers in 30 seconds. Veterancy for the Gazi is going to be in 2 minutes. You could just be dead by then. Anatan is already mirroring the move to the south side. As Marine Lord begins to save up for that third age. A difficult task, it feels like, in this game. More deer being pulled back to safety. The veterancy for the archers is in. In 50 seconds, Wedge Rivets will be there. That's his key attack point. It's a bit too long to wait for the Gazi to get vetted, but Wedge Rivets is enough to win here. Remember, that'll put your Gazi up at 4 ranged armor, meaning they'll only take 2 damage per strike. So it would take 63 shots to kill one Gazi. 63. Kind of ludicrous, but instead he's going to march in early. Gazi jump on top of it. Anatan kind of surprised he's throwing it away this quickly, but he wants to be close to the enemy base. Understandably so, he knows the tech up must be happening. Marine Lord still retreating. Undermesh. Level 2 is not there, so he's doing as much damage as he can hope for in this situation, but it simply still feels like it's not going to be enough here. Once the Gazi are dead, there's still going to be about the same number of archers for blue, but the difference is in the veterancy. Tech up complete here for Marine Lord. He needs to get some gold together. He doesn't have enough for the vet. Not just that, queuing men at arms is kind of oof here, right? Like against this many veteran archers, you can get tickled down. His range count barely sticking about 40 here. Anatan behind this has got relics on the way home as well. Wallows to try and mess with the archers as the Lancer arrives to assist. The dive comes in. Villagers and traders also now soon to be in trouble. The veterancy still 40 seconds away. And Marine Lord, I think that may be too far away in this game. Lance is now arriving, and this should be the nail in the coffin.